My neighbor moved to this county 3 years ago. First August electric bill he received was $280. He called the utility company to ask if there had been a mistake. They told him there had not been a mistake. He called me instead. I told him what I am going to tell you now. We do not pay electric bills on this property. Have not paid one in 11 years. Not because we went without. Not because we live in the dark or gave up anything we actually needed. But because 11 years ago I sat down with a notebook, a catalog from a solar supply company, and the same practical thinking my father applied to every problem on the farm growing up, and I built a system for $300 that has powered the essentials of this household ever since. The utility companies have a name for people like us. They call us off-grid. What they mean is lost revenue. What we mean is free. I want to be straight with you from the beginning the way I always am. $300 does not power a modern American home with central air, conditioning, and an electric range and a clothes dryer running 6 hours a day. I am not going to tell you that, and I would not insult your intelligence by pretending otherwise. What $300 builds is a system that powers the things that matter most: lighting, phone and device charging, a small refrigerator, a fan, a radio, the things that make a home livable and that when the grid goes down or when the bill arrives, you suddenly realize you cannot do without. For many households, that is enough to eliminate the bill entirely. For others, it reduces the bill by 60 to 80%. For everyone, it is a foundation that can be expanded over time as budget allows. And it starts at $300, which is less than most households pay in 2 months of electric bills, and it pays for itself within 60 days of operation. Let me tell you how I built ours, and then I will tell you exactly how you can build yours. I grew up in a community where electricity from the grid was not used at all, not because of poverty, but because of principle, and because of a practical understanding that dependence on systems you do not control is a vulnerability you do not need. When my wife and I moved to this property, and the question of electricity came up, I approached it the way my father approached every practical problem on the farm. I asked what we actually needed, what the simplest system was that could provide it, and what that system would cost to build and maintain over time. The answer was solar, not because it is fashionable, not because of anything political, because the sun is the most reliable energy source available to anyone on this property, and it charges nothing for the service. The basic system has 4 components, and understanding what each one does makes the whole thing make sense. The first component is the solar panel. This is the part that collects energy from the sun and converts it into direct current electricity. Solar panels are rated in watts, and the wattage tells you how much power the panel can produce under ideal conditions, meaning full direct sunlight with the panel orient correctly. A 100-watt panel in full sun produces approximately 5 to 6 amp hours charge per hour of direct sunlight. On a good sunny day with 6 hours of usable sun, that panel produces 30 to 36 amp hours of energy. That number will make sense in a moment when we talk about what your appliances actually consume. For a basic household essential system, 2 100-watt panels gives you a comfortable margin of daily production. 2 panels at current prices run $60 to $80 each, depending on the source. Call it $140 to $160 for the panels. The second component is the charge controller. The charge controller sits between the solar panels and the battery. Its job is to regulate the flow of electricity from the panels into the battery, so the battery receives the right amount of charge without being overcharged, which damages batteries and shortens their life significantly. A basic PWM charge controller for a small system costs $15 to $30. A higher quality MPP controller, which is more efficient, especially in partial sun conditions, runs $40 to $60. For a beginner system, a $30 PWM controller is perfectly adequate. The third component is the battery. This is where the energy collected during the day is stored for use at night and during cloudy periods. The battery is the heart of the system, and it is where most people either get it right or make a mistake that costs them twice. Deep cycle batteries are what you need. Not car batteries. Car batteries are designed to deliver a large burst of current to start an engine and then be immediately recharged by the alternator. They are not designed to be slowly discharged over many hours and recharged repeatedly. Deep cycle batteries are built specifically for this pattern, and they last dramatically longer in a solar application. A 100 amp-hour deep cycle lead-acid battery is the most common starting point for a basic system. These run $80 to $120 new. You can often find them used from RV dealers or marine supply shops for $40 to $60. A used battery in good condition works fine. A used battery that has been deeply discharged and left uncharged for months is damaged and will not hold a useful charge. Test any used battery with a multimeter before buying. A fully charged 12-volt lead-acid battery reads 12.6 to 12.8 volts. Below 12.2 volts at rest indicates a battery that has been compromised. Lithium iron phosphate batteries, often called LiFePO4, are superior in almost every way. They last 3 to 5 times longer than lead-acid batteries. They can be discharged more deeply without damage, and they are lighter. The cost is higher, typically $150 to $200 for a 100 amp-hour lithium battery, but over the lifetime of the system, the cost per usable cycle is lower. If your budget allows, start with lithium. If not, start with lead-acid and plan to upgrade. The fourth component is the inverter. The panels and battery operate on direct current at 12 volts. Most household appliances operate on alternating current at 110 to 120 volts. The inverter converts the DC power stored in your battery into the AC power your appliances can use. A 300-watt pure sine wave inverter handles most household essentials and costs $25 to $40. A 500-watt inverter gives more headroom for appliances with motors, fans, small refrigerators, and costs $35 to $60. Pure sine wave inverters produce cleaner power that is safe for sensitive electronics. Modified sine wave inverters are cheaper, but can cause problems with some motors and electronic devices over time. Spend the small extra amount for pure sine wave. You will not regret it. Total system cost at current prices. 2 100-watt panels at $150. A charge controller at $30. A 100 amp-hour deep cycle battery at $100. And a 300-watt pure sine wave inverter at $35. That is $315 for a complete working system. Now let me tell you what that system can actually power. And for how long, because this is where most explanations of solar get vague. And I am going to be specific. 30 amp hours of daily production from 2 panels in good sun gives you the following. An LED light bulb at 10 watts draws less than 1 amp hour per hour. Run 5 LED lights for 5 hours in the evening and you consume 25 watt hours, less than 3 amp hours. A phone charger draws about 10 watts and charges a phone fully in 2 to 3 hours, consuming 20 to 30 watt hours. A laptop charger draws 45 to 65 watts and charges a laptop in 2 hours, consuming 90 to 130 watt hours. A 12-volt DC refrigerator designed for RV and off-grid use draws 30 to 50 watts and runs about 8 hours per day in efficient operation, consuming 240 to 400 watt hours per day. In practical terms, your 30 amp hour daily production at 12 volts gives you 360 watt hours per day. That covers your lighting, your phone and laptop charging, and a significant portion of a small, efficient refrigerator's daily consumption. Add a second battery to your system and you have 2 days of storage for cloudy periods. Add a third panel and your daily production rises to 45 amp hours, which covers the refrigerator fully plus everything else. This is not hardship. This is not go without. This is right-sizing your energy consumption to what you actually need rather than what the grid is. Happy to sell you at whatever rate they decide to charge this month. I added to our system gradually over 4 years. We started with 2 panels and 1 battery. Added a second battery in the second year for better cloudy day coverage. Added 2 more panels in the third year to increase daily production. Added a larger inverter when we added the small chest freezer to replace old grid-powered upright freezer. Each addition was funded partly by what we were no longer paying in electric bills. The system paid for its own expansion. Today, we run lighting throughout the house, a chest freezer, phone and device charging, a radio, fans in summer, and a small water pump for the garden. Our electric bill is zero, has been zero for 11 years. Let me tell you about the installation, because people are often more intimidated by this than they need to be. Connecting these four components is simpler than most home electrical work. The panels connect to the charge controller with the cables that come with the panels. The charge controller connects to the battery with short, heavy gauge cables, typically 6 to 8 gauge wire for a system this size. The inverter connects directly to the battery terminals with its own cables. The panels should be mounted where they receive maximum direct sunlight, ideally south-facing in the northern hemisphere, tilted at an angle approximately equal to your latitude. For a first system that you are learning on, start with the panels on a ground mount or a simple roof mount using standard racking hardware. Ground mounts are easier to adjust seasonally. A tilt of 30 to 45 degrees in most of the continental United States captures the maximum annual average sunlight. In winter, when the sun is lower in the sky, a steeper angle captures more. In summer, a shallower angle. If your mount is fixed, 40 degrees is a good compromise for most locations. Keep all connections clean and tight. Loose connections in a DC system generate heat, and heat generates resistance, and resistance wastes the power you are trying to collect. Use ring terminals on all cable connections rather than bare wire ends. Check all connections once a season and retighten anything that has loosened. The battery should be stored in a location that stays above freezing. Lead-acid batteries lose significant capacity in cold temperatures and can be permanently damaged if discharged in extreme cold. A simple wooden insulated box around the battery is sufficient for most winter climates. I built ours from scrap lumber in an afternoon and lined it with rigid foam insulation I had left from another project. That battery housing has kept our battery within its operating range through 11 winters in a climate that regularly drops below 0 Fahrenheit. Now let me tell you about the mistakes most people make when they start a solar system, because I have seen most of them and every one of them is avoidable. The first mistake is buying the cheapest possible panels without checking the warranty or the manufacturer. Solar panels should last 25 years. A panel from a reputable manufacturer with a 25-year power output warranty is a fundamentally different product from an unbranded panel with no warranty sold at a price that seems too good. Buy from established brands. Renaji, Nupoa, Rich Solar, and several others make reliable panels at reasonable prices. The panels are not where you save money in this system. The second mistake is underestimating battery capacity and overestimating what a single battery can do. People buy one 100 amp-hour battery and then wonder why they run out of power after a cloudy day. One battery is a starting point. 2 batteries from the beginning gives you real usable capacity and much better cloudy day performance. If your budget only allows 1 battery to start, know that going in and plan the expansion. The third mistake is buying a modified sine wave inverter to save $20, and then having problems with motor-driven appliances and sensitive electronics. Pure sine wave, always. The fourth mistake is not monitoring the system. A basic battery voltage monitor at $10 tells you at a glance the state of charge in your battery. Running a lead-acid battery below 50% state of charge regularly cuts its lifespan in half. Running it below 20% damages it permanently within a few cycles. Know your battery's state of charge. Do not guess. The fifth mistake is placing panels where they receive partial shade during the day. A shadow covering even 10% of a panel can reduce its output by 50% or more depending on the panel's design. Full unobstructed sun for the peak hours of the day is worth more than a slightly better mounting angle on a shaded roof. Observe your mounting location through a full day before committing to it. There is something I want to say about why this matters beyond the bill. When the ice storm came through our county 4 winters ago, the grid was down for 9 days in some areas. 9 days in February. My neighbor, the same one who called me about his $280 August bill, was without heat, without lights, without refrigeration, without any way to charge his phone for 9 days. He had a generator, but ran out of fuel by day 3 because the fuel stations had no power to run their pumps. We had lights, we had our freezer running, we had charged phones, we had a fan running on the wood stove to circulate heat. My wife cooked on the wood stove the way her grandmother always did. We were not comfortable in the way that most people expect comfort to mean, but we were fine. We were more than fine. We were the neighbors that other neighbors came to. That resilience is not an accident. It is a choice made before the emergency arrives. A $300 solar system built on a Saturday afternoon is a decision made in advance that on the day the grid fails, you are not dependent on it. This is the thinking that runs through everything I do on this property, and everything I have tried to put into writing for people who want to move in this direction. The knowledge of how to generate your own power, how to store your own food, how to use what grows around you for medicine and for household needs, how to reduce what you owe the monthly system of bills that most families carry without questioning whether they have to, the planting calendar that tells you what to grow and when, the healing plant guide with the preparations my family has relied on for generations, the household chemistry that costs pennies and replaces products that cost hundreds of dollars a year. All of it is in the books. The link is in the description, or you can find everything on our channel. Start this weekend. Price out the 4 components for your area. Look at your roof or your yard for the best sun exposure. Calculate what you actually need to power versus what you have been paying to power out of habit. The gap between those two things is where your $300 lives and where your monthly bill begins to shrink. Tell me in the comments where you are starting from. Grid power you want to reduce, fully off-grid already, or somewhere in between. Tell me your situation. I read every single comment and I answer as many as I can because every situation is different and the right starting point depends on where you are. And next time I am going to show you the water system I built on this property that gives us clean running water without a municipal connection and without an electric pump. Gravity, a storage tank, and about $200 in materials. The same principle engineers understood 2,000 years ago and that our people never stopped using. I will see you then.